Well, we count on our cars to get us from place to place safely.
But not every car concern feels like a matter of safety. Sometimes you've just got to ask a pro.
That's right. Our go-to guy is Peter Fink, and he owns Certified Transmission. Good morning, Peter.
Hi,
How are you?
Peter.
How was your weekend?
Morning. You know, it was good, other than Saturday night was kind of not very nice and painful to watch.
The wind came
and
out
stuff.
pretty
The good
quickly.
news is, looks like Tommy will probably be okay. I mean, that's huge. Okay,
Puts it in perspective pretty
and not
quickly.
just from a football perspective, obviously as a person. Okay, and stuff. I'm glad to hear that he isn't possibly. And we don't know yet, but they'll announce
Right,
later.
we're optimistic.
Right.
Okay, let's get to this first question because Rachel's up first. And here's what she wrote in. She wrote in, the brakes in my Nissan Altima constantly squeal and it's very loud. I've kept up with maintenance. What would cause good condition brakes to squeal like that?
Okay, well, I'm going to start with the very simplest first, okay? If the all brakes or most cars have what they call little squealers on them for when your brake pads get real thin, then they're going to go up against the rotor and make a squealing noise, okay? Since she says she's kept up with maintenance, I'm assuming the pads are good, still have a lot of material left on them, and that's not the case, okay? Most of the times that's the case, okay? And it's to catch it before you run out of brake material and tear up your rotors, okay, and stuff, all right? If it's still making noise, okay, and it ain't the squeakers, I suspect we've replaced the brakes on this, and either the brake job wasn't done properly, okay, and there's a lot of prep anymore to do it. When you turn the rotors, you have to clean them properly. Otherwise, it picks up the brake, the metal, gets in the new pads, and they'll constantly squeak no matter what you do. The only way you can fix it is hang new pads on it. The next thing is somebody used inferior parts, okay? Unfortunately, the automotive industry, you know, a lot of people ask for cheaper parts, okay? And so we've got a lot of cheap parts out there,
Could it be the case from the factory ever and not just a replacement scenario?
You know, she didn't say what year it is.
Right.
I'm assuming brakes usually last 50, 60,000 miles. I'm assuming the car probably has more than that. If it was the original brakes, it's probably the squeakers, okay? She said she's had regular maintenance.
Right.
I'm kind of thinking somebody did a brake job, either didn't do it right, used inferior parts. You really need to buy the highest quality. And I mean, you know, you can buy parts that cost $10 and $50. They look identical, but they're really junk, okay? And I mean, we won't use them.
I've, in the past, I used to think that was something where they were trying to upsell me and take advantage of me when I would go in. Because you feel, I mean, for me as a gal going into certain places, you feel like they don't think you know much, so they can get as much money out of you. But this is one area where I think it makes sense to listen and pay for as much as you can afford.
You know what? And parts are that way. And I mean, it is a big issue. And it isn't just in car stuff. I mean, it's in everything. Do you really believe something that you can pay $50 for, you can get it for 10 and vice versa? Do you really think people are marking it up that much? Usually that's not the case, okay, and stuff, all right?
Our next question, this one is from Melissa, and she writes, the seals around the door and on the trunk of my 2008 Chevy Impala are starting to break down and show signs of wear and age. My trunk leaks. Is that something that's easy to replace myself, or should I just have someone else do it?
Well, that's a loaded question as far as easy to replace for yourself. I don't know your talents,
relative,
okay? Yeah. I will tell you, I've tried to replace them myself, and personally, I don't consider it very easy, okay, and stuff, all right? They've got glues to put them on. You take the old one off and trying to get it set up and get it just right. Like I said, I've tried to do it myself and not been very successful. That's really a body shop job, okay, as far as I'm concerned. You get it to a good body shop, and they can get them replaced for you, okay, and stuff. Again, you want to buy the proper good rubber, and that's a new enough car that you can get the OEM stuff. What that means is original equipment, okay? It usually comes from the dealer. There is aftermarket stuff, and again, I'm not trying to throw aftermarket stuff under the bus. There is good stuff, but then there's that cheap stuff, okay? And you'll have problems. The doors won't shut right, the trunk lid won't shut right, and stuff like this. So use original equipment, you'll go right. I'd have somebody do it, okay, and stuff,
All right, and this last question from Joey. Hey, Joey writes in, when I turn on my 1989 Dodge Dakota and it's in park, the engine starts to make a knocking noise, but when I press the gas, the noise goes away. Any idea what could be going on?
I suspect I got great news for you. I don't think you've got an engine problem here. I think what has happened is very common for the flywheels to crack on the Dodges, okay? And not just Dodges, we've seen them on other vehicles too. And what happens is when it's just idling like that, that flex plate will go back and forth, the engine, and so it will make a knocking noise, sound like it's the engine, but it's a cracked flywheel. Now, the bad news is you do have to pull the transmission out to fix that, okay, and put a new flywheel back on it. But the great news is you don't need a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 engine, okay?
Instead, what's the
Probably can
average?
repair this for around $400 or $500. Actually, you get it to one of my shops. I'll waive the checkout charge on it, okay, for you. Tell them you've been on the, Peter talked about it on the blend. I'll waive a charge. We'll check it out, and we can check that to see if it actually is that or not for no charge for you.
That's
okay?
kind.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is a good example between the 3 questions that we had today. A couple of them with a little bit more precision
Right.
in the amount of information that you had for the car. So I'll throw that out there. Like with that first question, not knowing the year, you can give more pointed advice
Definitely.
the more information
Anytime
you have.
I can get year, make, and model, okay, and maybe even how long you owned it, okay, makes a difference.
Right,
It
how many
does.
miles? Yeah, all that
The
stuff.
miles, definitely, all that.
So online at certifiedtransmission.com. I like going there, and I've read your story about how Certified Transmission came to be and what you've grown this business into. I
Sure.
think it's inspiring. But for most of you, you're going to go there to make appointments for your car if your transmission's acting up, you've got concerns about it. Or as we start thinking about snowy and icy conditions ahead and some of the damage that we can cause to our transmissions, just keep in mind 5 area locations, and you can make those appointments online.
And one of the things we're going to talk about, I know you're going to talk about this in the next couple of weeks, when the snow hits, you get stuck rocking your car back and forth, and what kind of impact that has on the transmission.
Big impact. Of course, you know, they don't want us to talk about it. The nice weather we got, they don't want snow and ice.
That's
now, I
coming.
love snow and ice, okay, because I go play in it, okay? But I mean, most people don't
and
like
there will
it.
be time for that conversation,
go,
but
there
not
we
when
go.
it's like 70 degrees in November. Thank
That's
you,
right.
Peter.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Always
you.
fun.
See ya.
Well, the incredible